And welcome to another episode of Notoriously Opinionated. It's your man that goes by many names and monikers. Give me Scrap the Film Guru. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, tapping in tonight. We got a great show for you tonight. Stay tuned to all my viewers. If you've been rocking with the kid, thank you. Welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in to Unscripted and Unfiltered on Notoriously Opinionated, welcome. Appreciate you for being here. So, all right. So normally I get into like you know my motto: if it wins, it begins, right? Um, and along that vein, I will be talking about the Chiefs. Unfortunately, they played all their backups and got blew out. So we can't talk about the Chiefs. Even though all my Bronco friends, Bronco fan friends, did not care that we started all second and third string players. They were just happy for the win. That was their Super Bowl. You're welcome. But what I am going to talk about tonight, I'm gonna preface the show. So it pretty much goes like this. Tonight we're gonna be talking about toxic versus healthy relationships. There are both. At the same time, we also need to discuss the inevitability of conflict. That's how I'm gonna say it. The inevitability of conflict. You're gonna have conflict in your relationship, right? Now, if you think that I'm only talking about relationships between pair bonds, I'm not. There's conflicts all across the board, all across the spectrum of relationships. We're gonna touch some, right? So hopefully what you get out of this episode this evening will be the ability to notice if you are in a toxic or a healthy relationship, how to shift from toxicity to healthy if you happen to find yourself in a toxic relationship. And if you're in a healthy relationship, how to maintain that healthy relationship and realize that just because you get into a disagreement or an argument or a fight, it's not the end of the world. But we're going to try and give you some tools tonight to help you navigate through those waters of toxicity, health, and conflict. So stay tuned. That's where we're going tonight on Notoriously Opinionated. Let go. Yes, sir, Bobby. I'd like to welcome all of my guests tonight, and we are gonna have a fantastic conversation tonight. Look who I snuck in though. Like I snuck somebody in. Y'all wasn't there for that, was you? Hey, I don't remember what movie that was, but dude, yeah, it was like one of those Adam Sandler movies. The butler kept disappearing. He was like, I'm very, very sneaky.
Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. He's like, I'm very, very sneaky. All right. Ladies, if you would do me the pleasure of introducing yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jaleesa. I am originally from Alabama.
I'm currently now residing in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So excited to be with you guys tonight and
All
tonight's
right. Thank you
conversation.
for being here.
I am Hazel, originally from Jamaica, Queens. Queens, get the money. Sorry. Originally from Jamaica, Queens, New York, but I do live in the Atlanta metro area now. And tech nerd by day, cigar smoker by night. So yeah, I'm here to greet the people.
Hold on. How come you was like New York? Like it all came out. It's like New York.
Oh,
It
I don't know. It's just
it all the accent came out. It's New York. That's
when
right.
I say New York, water and coffee, you're gonna hear
Right.
it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And to
Hey,
my esteemed co-host.
all right, all right. What's going on, guys? As you know, this is Phoenix Smoke, born and raised, still here. So here to have some fun. Let's get
And who are you and how did you get in my house?
I ain't nobody,
it.
That was the name of a movie. Call Me Nobody.
and I seriously, I ain't nobody. But what I have to share with you, hopefully, it will touch you in a way that brings prosperity or positivity or a good vibe or something, that you can take away from it. That's the only thing that matters.
All right now. And with that said,
And with that said, all right, let's get to it. I think the very first thing that we may have to, because we talked about this already. Like,
Mhm.
what is toxicity, or what would be considered toxicity, and at the same time, what is health? What is healthy? What is it to be in a toxic relationship? What is it to be in a healthy relationship? Let's define, let's qualify it all and figure out what these two terms mean between toxic and healthy. What is toxic and healthy?
ladies first.
Well, I'll start. Toxic is what I don't want. Healthy is what I do want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Always.
I think so. If we want to go from a true definition stance, right? One of the definitions is the quality of being very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive or insidious way, right? And so that's where you get the gaslighting. That's where you get the people who don't want to be held accountable. That's where you get in the negative ways, that reverse psychology that people try to use. And you're like, wait a minute, am I tripping? Um, you get the people who don't listen, or they listen to respond, right? You get the people who hear you but they're not listening, and there's such a big difference, and I think that too many times people miss out on that. Healthy is peace, healthy is loving, it is caring, it is empathetic, it is nurturing, it is abundant, it pushes you, it makes you want to do better. When it's toxic, you want to leave, you want to run, you question yourself. And anytime that you're in a space where any of those things are happening, for me, you have to know when it's time to go.
Yeah, I know for me, it's the same thing that you just touched on, Hayes, is that it's harmful. For me, when I think of another word for toxic, I think lethal. Like it's just,
Ooh.
it's time to just let it. That's lethal. I can't tolerate it. It's got to go. And quite opposite is the healthy relationship. You're going to be able to see it. You're going to run to it versus running away from it. And so that's kind of my take on toxic.
When I think of toxicities, it's definitely everything that you two said is right on point. I also think about it just being like mindful. You know what I'm saying? Because toxicity, it I think to some degree is probably defined differently to people depending on their experiences. And I think about that we might even notice or see toxicity in people, or what we define what toxic is, and we may not. We kind of, I don't even know if what the term would be, but we give them passes. Because of the relationships that we have with them. So when I think of toxic, everything you guys said, but but also being mindful of what those characteristics are. And healthy, I mean, everything you said, but including to that, patience and love. for real. So I agree. So I think we can agree on our definitions.
Hmm. Everything is in the experience, Um, but I agree too. I think a lot of what you mentioned from the beginning about that which is damaging to the spirit, the soul, or even the circumstances, your surroundings, in the way uh, your energy affects those around you. If it's not in a way that nurtures and grows a person, that gives light, so something can add to itself, right? Uh, I think that in itself is an issue. My definition of it is very limited because I haven't had very many relationships, right? And from this standpoint, I think we're talking about the relationship between the feminine and the masculine energy
Mhm.
versus just relationships, period. But if we're talking about relationships, period, then I can speak as, relationships with brothers that have been in my life, that, you have people that choose a different way of life versus where you're trying to go with yours. And if you're not nurturing each other, like, say, for instance, being able to be authentic and tell a brother when you want some nonsense, right? Because you want to be liked. I believe that's toxicity because anybody that I have close to me should want to see me do well, see me grow, see me evolve, see me improve, and that relationship should be supportive of that. So, but if somebody's stealing my energy, using whatever energy that they can get from me to further themselves or something like that, or that's damaging to my spirit or lying to me, or, those things that make me feel low vibrational things, aggression, anger, jealousy, possessiveness, all of those type of things. That's what when the word toxic comes to my mind in a relationship, that's what comes to my mind. That's what I view or picture.
It's good.
All those adjectives you just used were adjectives that I would define as toxic, you know.
Mhm.
Uh so I'm going to give a blanket agreement with everybody's definition, and I'm going to add merely this. Uh the way to define if you feel in your spirit that something is toxic versus not is if you get out of the car or stay in it. If
Mm.
you if you stay in the car and you're in the driveway for a considerable period of time, there may be something toxic afoot. If you get out the car and you go in immediately, it may be healthier than not. On top of that, I gotta say something that is completely off this like off topic. Is tangential. It has nothing to do with the podcast. It has absolutely nothing to do with what we are discussing. But it's toxic to me, and it's eating away at my soul. It's eating away at my very being right now.
Get
Right,
it out.
and that's the fact that this brother, no good and doggone well, I did not teach him to put an S in the back of Ndugu. There is no S
It's
in
silly.
Swahili. There is no S. KP. There is no S. You can't apostrophize Kiswahili. Haven't I told that? There is no S. There is no Ndugus. It's Ndugu, and that can be plural, or it's Wandugu. It's not Indugus. Quit adding doggone S to Indugu because it's not English. It's not apostrophe S.
So I don't really know that word too much, but there is, and it'll be a plug that I make later, this organization here that's focused on the mental health of Black men, and it's called Indugu, and it's a Black community. So it's a community for Black men. So yeah, he is right in what he's saying. Yeah, you gotta fix
I
that.
didn't even plug it in the line.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. But so okay then. All right. So quit putting S's on the back of Indugu. It's Indugu. Why Indugu? Not Indugus. I told you that. I told you better. You just forgot. All right. My soul is cleansed. My spirit. I feel better. Thank y'all for allowing me this. All right. So okay. So now that we have a pretty much blanket definition of what we are going to accept as what toxicity is, what does healthy mean? What does it mean to be healthy? And to your point, we are kind of we're talking about whatever relationship that you're talking about. We can be talking about, and I say this all the time on the platform, it's like the show is not just about pair bond relationships. Whatever kind of relationship that it is, now we are talking about, right now we may be talking about pair bond relationships, but it's not just like that. It's whatever kind of relationship that you need help with, because you can have a toxic relationship with your family. You can have a toxic relationship with your friends. You might have a toxic relationship with yourself.
Now that's a good one.
Hello.
That's
Hello.
It's a different level of accountability
That's a
that you
whole
touching on with that one. They not ready for
that's a
that
whole different level of
one.
accountability right there. If you toxic with yourself, and especially, I don't think they want to hear me say this. Especially if you don't want to admit it. If you don't want
Right,
to
you're not gonna do
admit
that.
that you have a toxic relationship with yourself, whoa will be on to you. All right. So, but all right, so let's juxtapose healthy relationship, toxic relationship, because we got to help the people. We got to help the people understand if they are in a toxic relationship, if they're in a healthy relationship, and how to escape this one to this one, because it's a problem, And my classic definition of a problem is a problem exists when you are one place, you're trying to get to another place, and you don't know how to get from one place to the other. That is a problem, right? So how can we help the people to resolve the problem of getting from a toxic relationship to a healthy one?
That's not for us though, right? People have to want to do that. And I say that because for me, my worst relationship turned out to be toxic. And it was one that was, excuse me, abusive for me mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically. Right. And you have to think about how many women stay in domestic violent relationships way longer than they need to. They know it's a problem, but a lot of times that walking away is extremely tough for them. I'm fortunate enough that I didn't sit in that space too long, and I had someone else who was like, yeah, nah, that's not good for you, you gotta go, let's go now, right? But we have to not only just recognize when something isn't right for us, but really it's on, we have the onus on saying, hey, I gotta go and I gotta go now, right? Like I was recently dating somebody and I was like, you know what, you don't like me, you like the thought of me, you like my presence and all of these other things, but you don't really like me, so I don't need to be here, right? And I had to recognize that and step away. Did I want to? No, because I liked him a lot. But you don't like me, so why am I going to continue wasting time and energy in a space that I can't get that time back? The energy I can get back, I can go make some more. I can go make some more money. I can go and buy some more things, but I cannot get my time back. So I'm in a space where you're not going to be able to waste that anymore. But I had to recognize that sooner than later. And as someone who in a sense, I guess, was toxic to myself in allowing people to stay in my life longer that they need to. This is me leaning in more on the boundaries that I've set and allowed people to cross. But now I'm like, girl, you're 42 years old. We will not be doing that anymore. Right. And so, yes, does it hurt? Yeah. But I promise you, in such a quick matter of time, I felt so much better about it. And I was okay with the decision that I made because at that point, toxic is draining, healthy is fulfilling. Without him, I felt fulfilled. And it's not to say with him, I felt like I was drained. No, because he's a good guy. So I'm not going to take that away from him. He just didn't like me, not in that manner for us to really do something longer. Okay, cool. But I knew it. I recognized it. Then he tried to make me think I was tripping. Nah, I'm not tripping. You don't like me, dude. And that's okay.
That part. That part.
Right. But I saw it. But it was a moment for us to have a crucial conversation, kind of as we talked about earlier. And I didn't get loud. And normally I'm, like Sean was saying, I'm 0 to 100 real quick. Right. But I stayed at like 10 and I was coasting.
Mhm.
And we had a conversation about it where to this day we can amicably speak and we can cordially speak and see one another and it's okay. Or hey, you good? Like it's the wildfires in California. I hit them up today. Hey, is your mom okay? Because I know that they out there, right? So I think that is what we make of it.
That's good.
I love that answer. And the the very first thing you said, I could have swore I made that up. So I'm glad to hear you say it.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I like the idea. The thing of it is evolve. What I heard about that is maturity and evolution in the sense that because to my perspective about life is in the experience you find the truth, right? So through my experiences where I learned the truth, because can't nobody tell me my experience wasn't what it is, right? So when I'm listening to you and you explain it, I hear the evolution, which means being able to first recognize, right, the situation and that it wasn't really nothing negative nor bad, just that y'all wasn't in the same place and wanted the same things. And
Sure.
you see what I'm saying? And we like to attach a negativity to that, which to me is a blessing because you don't lose as much time as you could have, or things don't spiral out of control the way they could have. So when
Hmm.
you recognize those things and then you're able to move through them, is what I heard from you. Because you
Absolutely.
recognize it, you define the feeling that you had, right? And then you move through it without any type of negativity attached to it. It's just a reality of something. Just
Hmm.
because things don't work between two people all the time, it doesn't have to be a bad situation, but we make it that. And it's almost like we're trained to make it be that so that we don't love each other as a people, the big self. You see what I'm saying? We built this distrust between us, masculine and feminine energy when it comes to huge people, right? And so it's like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a circle. It's like a
Cyclical.
yeah, it's just things going around in a circle and circle and circle because I think we're not looking at it from a bigger perspective. Is all I mean. Uh, because everybody's what I need, what I need, what I need, what I need, what I need. But what do we need as a culture? What do we need as a people? If we're not loving ourselves in that manner as well, individually, that self love is hard because everybody wants to be inclusive. Everybody wants to be attached to something, somebody, somewhere, in some way, and be validated. These are things that we all feel, whether you want to speak them out loud or not. It's the truth, right? So when we're looking at things, there's a bigger perspective. There's a small self and the big self. But just to get back on point, I recognize the evolution in you because once you understand a thing, you walk through the experience of a thing and you understand it, right? When you come across it again, it don't take that long for you to move through it and heal past it, right? Stuff that used to keep me angry, mad, feeling despondent, depressed, all these things for days, now only might take 15 minutes and I done moved on.
Hmm.
So that's
That's good.
evolution. You see what I'm saying? And
I
you got to
thought it
be
was real
grateful
dope.
for that too.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was real dope listening to how Hazel, walked through it. Miss Hayes, excuse me. And um, what I heard about it, too, what I heard from that was it was like like you said, Reese, like everybody agreed to to separate. but wasn't nobody trying to like kill one another. Like, it's always got to be so malignant when people break up, like F you, Igga. And it
Mhm.
don't have to be like that. We just didn't agree. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that showed, like, it showed a lot. I mean, I hope people really keyed in on that, because that's
Really.
really true. Like, I tell people all the time, I don't want to see you fail just because we don't agree or we don't get along.
Right.
Golly, what I'm saying? You act like you want to write on my tombstone if we separate. So now I appreciate that. And to be honest with you, I wish we had, more people that can recognize that, and just know that, hey man, shoot, find who like you, and the people who don't like you, they let them be liked by somebody else, and God bless them, basically, right?
Right.
I appreciate that. So
I gotta tap into what you just mentioned about self-love. So for me, I feel like that's where it starts first. You have to know who you are, what you like, and what makes you happy. Because I feel like a lot of my friends and other ones that I've talked to before, they dealt with past experiences to maybe where they compromised what the other person wanted, and they never
Mhm.
wanted that, or that never made them happy. Or maybe they have been through toxic relationships. Me personally, I've never been through one, because I know what makes me happy and what doesn't. And my biggest thing is avoidance. Like, if it ain't flowing the way I want it to, I'm going to be quick to tell you this is not for me. There's somebody else out there for you.
okay.
Versus like when you're in a situation and you've gone through past toxic relationships before, maybe you're drawn to kind of stay in that because you don't know anything else but that. So for me, I feel like you kind of have to know what you want and what makes you happy. And if you've been through those toxic stuff before, find healing first and what makes
Mhm.
you happy into that space so where you can step into something else healthy. Because me, I'm a church girly. So I know me like, hey, I gotta have that every Sunday. If I'm not there, like my trips and things are kind of planned around it. Like I'm like, where are we going to church at? Like something else gotta take place because it makes me happy. That brings me joy. That brings me my peace. So that's the same thing with any other relationship that you're going through is once you identify that, you're going to run to it and you won't run away from it. Versus if that's all you know, you're going to stay in it.
Mhm.
I like that.
That was the word.
So I read something in the comments. Dream was talking about. She said same page, right? And it was in accordance with what Miss Hayes was talking about. And I was, the reason that stood out to me is because I was thinking the same thing when you were talking. It was
Mhm.
like two people, you and my man, was not on the. You may have been on the same page from an attraction standpoint or whatnot,
Mhm.
but and a lot of people stop there, being in the same book, right? A lot of people will stop with being in the same book. Dream goes on to talking about the same page. Well, I kind of take it a little further. You got to get on that same line. Let's
Mm.
be on the same sentence, and then ultimately you'll know that it's right when you on the same word. You know,
Now y'all are in sync.
now you in sync. When you on the same word, see, you can be on the same page in two different books, right? I could be reading the Odyssey, you reading Field of Dreams. We could both be on page 263, you know, but on page 263 in two different books. It's like, hey, go to page 263. Okay. And you reading in your book and they reading in their book, and you like, hold on, what the hell is you reading? What are you talking about? What are you reading? Oh, I'm reading Field of Dreams. Oh, I'm not even in that book. We was on the same word. We was in the wrong book, you know. So it's, to me, it's important to be in the same book, on the same page, get on the same line, and then get to that same word, right?
Mm.
So uh so thank you thank you, Dream. uh all right, let's move on. So what are some of the elements of a toxic relationship versus now honestly I believe that the elements are the same, they're just different sides of the same coin, right? So So what would be y'all's opinion on what some of the elements of a toxic and healthy relationship are, to where if you just flip the coin, you got something different? So and let me just throw one out there. I'm gonna throw one out there. Communication, right?
Lack of understanding. Ooh, because people don't want to understand one another. I don't have to agree with you. We don't have to be here, but I want to understand your perspective and your vantage point, your viewpoint, to make me think a little bit differently. Sorry.
Understand? Hey,
We
no,
listen
please
and
don't.
we don't judge.
Please,
There we
I'm
go.
judging like a
please don't
man.
apologize for that. Please don't apologize for understanding. Understanding it, I love understanding is a beautiful thing, and understanding is a beautiful thing. So
Escape said it, right? All they wanted was some understanding.
that's hey,
And can we communicate?
can we communicate?
Okay.
So on one side, you have, in a healthy relationship, you're gonna have a clear understanding. In a toxic relationship, you're not gonna have a clear understanding. Go.
Understanding of what though, right? And the only reason why I ask that, because sometimes we expect people to understand our thought process, and there wasn't even a conversation that was had about anything, right? I'll take for instance women. Women assume that they are in a relationship with the man, and they ain't had nothing their first conversation or discussion about it. So like,
Preach,
Wait, I'm
preach.
sorry.
Nah, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Let me apologize, but I gotta add something on that because I was just telling a friend of mine the other day. You know, it's been like 9 months, 10 months, and he's just not realizing that he's in a relationship. I'm like, this happens a lot for real. Like, it's like, dude, when did she become my chick? Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
for real, you didn't know?
like
You
he
didn't.
didn't.
You didn't. I didn't. Nah, bro. We was just cool.
I woke up one day, we was having drinks. Next thing you know, that's my
That's
girl.
my chick. I don't know when it happened. I don't know. I don't get it. What happened? We ain't cool like we used to be no more. This happens
That's
a lot. I'm telling you. So communication about those type of things. You know, women are powerful.
It happened to women too, though. Like I'm hearing that women can be in a relationship and not even know that they in.
I don't know. I ain't. That ain't. I don't know about that. But I'll just say
I
this.
heard.
You know, it's one of those things where conversations most definitely. And you know, when I see Facebook or social media, most of the time when we speaking about relationship stuff, and it hurts my heart because we're talking at each other. We talking at each other like we don't care about each other no more. Like we gonna exist without each other. That's so funny to me. Now we speaking in reality. How you gonna exist without me? How I'm gonna exist without you? And we talking at each other,
And not to each other.
not to each other.
and we're listening to respond and not listening to understand.
But there's something to that.
You took conflict
Not
resolution class.
listening to comprehend, right? Because comprehension is key, and people hear you all day and they don't comprehend a damn thing you said. And I'm like, so you just missed all of that?
But there's something to that. And so what I mean is when we talk about when you say dude didn't like you, the lack of desire or motivation for us to get it right. Right. We've been talking before I was born. We've been
He
talking.
might not have knew. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to know that maybe he didn't do that intentionally. You know what I'm saying? Due to his experiences, his upbringing, culture, society, etc. And I just thought it was dope that when she brought it to his attention, he was able to at least recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe, well, even not say recognize, but just say, I can see your point of view. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So,
And
not real
accept it
talk.
for what it was.
But don't that
Exactly.
with perspective of how we see each other though? That's what I mean. We look at these terms that we use. A lot of it is obsession and possessiveness, right? Two things that can't be in a healthy relationship. It ain't about we speaking about contractual type stuff, but when we talking about a relationship, the oneness of us, right? This is what I'm speaking about. The oneness of us. Not my woman, not my wife, not my girlfriend, but this is my everything because without her, I don't exist. Do you understand that? Not from a stuff perspective. What we going what kind of house we gonna live in, what kind of car we gonna drive, what opera we going to, what titles, words, all that stuff passes away. It's nothing when we talking about the beginning and the end of us.
That's the first law of the universe, ain't it?
For some people, they must have forgot that.
The law of
Because we
oneness.
steady talking at each other and not to each other like we don't care about each other.
Well, I think you already kind of mentioned earlier. That's something that's been bred into our culture. You know what I'm saying? So that unfortunately, when they took certain, things out of schools, when they took discipline out of schools, when hip hop music got what's the word what I'm looking for,
Censored?
like, huh?
When it got censored?
Well, no, it's not when it's
Oh,
censored,
okay.
but remember, like when hip hop, it was all about, like the music we grew up on was all about love music. It was all about neighborhood stuff, and everything now is just negativity.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with one of my partners. A matter of fact, it was Scrap. I was talking to Scrap. I'm like, it's interesting that, like when I started learning how to, well, my mother, I didn't have a great role model at home, like a healthy relationship with my parents and all that. It's on that can be like five other shows, you know what I'm saying? So we ain't gonna go in there. But just when I finally started coming up age and started to interact with women, in the way that I wanted to interact with women, shit, my teachers was NWA. You know what I'm saying? Just hip hop. It was culture. It was like, and it's kind of weird because like I had a certain mindset, and then when I got into, hip hop, just a lot and just hearing it, and you start to be influenced by that shit. So that's why it's like our culture got hijacked, and there's certain things that was used as tools to help reprogram us to move us towards toxicity. If you think about all music nowadays, a lot of music nowadays, it's really toxic. Now we bump it, you know what I'm saying? We listen to it, but if you really look at it, the core freaking sense of things, there's really a lot of toxicity in there. To go with Reese's point, there ain't nothing about no type of love and a lot of the music I hear, but we still bumping.
Shameless plug about one of the shows in February. One of the shows in February, I'm going to bring on a panel full of rappers, male and female, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about like the responsibility that that the hip hop community has in what's put out there, because it's like uh and I'm not about to go all in depth with it, but that tune in to Notoriously Opinionated for that show, you know, because we definitely gonna get into that topic.
But isn't that
Uh,
how you think? So I mean, like, I want to ask you guys, like, how do y'all think um, you were introduced to toxicity? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was your influences, or what was like your first? Because I could say my first influences of toxicity was seeing my mother deal with men. You know what I'm saying? And how she dealt with that stuff. So that was my first indoctrination of things, right? Which was kind of interesting because my mother really tried to teach me to be the man that she never had. But it was hard to teach me that when she wasn't showing me the kind of guy to be the guy that she wanted. And yeah, like I said, we can do probably a whole year worth of shows if I want to break all that stuff down. But it's just really like that's how I got introduced. And then again, when I was talking about the music and everything else, because I think once I got introduced to toxicity, then that's what I gravitated to, and then, and that's kind of what formulated at least me, in the beginning. So,
So I would say, and just bear with me because I'm gonna kind of say a lot with this. For me, it started with, I had to think about it. And at first, I thought it started with the lack of my father being present, but it actually started from the presence of my stepfather. God rest his soul, right? So this is not me talking bad about anyone who was no longer here, but my stepfather was diagnosed alcoholic. He and my mother had a very, very bad physical relationship, right? So that was the first thing first place where I saw it. There was a lot of love, but there was a large physical piece to it, right? And she stayed. Now, unfortunately, he passed 2 years before their 20th wedding anniversary, right? And the good thing is when she did, Bezos, love you, baby. Can
Love
I?
it too.
Sorry, thought I had that moment.
Yeah.
Um, and fortunately, in her staying and granting grace and really sticking with him, he did go into recovery and all of these other things. So the latter part of their relationship was different, but that was the first place where I saw it, right? And I understand to your point, Sean, about like what happens in your household, about how it can affect children and their decisions on what they hold on to and what they don't. And that's like me. I have a rule. I don't care what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with. You cannot come into my home because I have a daughter, right? And I have to be mindful of what she sees and doesn't see. I didn't see that growing up. So because I didn't, and it could have been different, right? I still could have come out and done something different, but I didn't see that. So how dare I put that in front of her? I don't care if I'm sleeping with one person or 100 people. Unless we are in a committed relationship, baby, you can't come up in these doors. And also, when it comes to having healthy relationships and not making it toxic, my situation is a little bit different, right? So my daughter, her father, and I, like the three of us, we all live together. And so when people hear that, they're like, "You live with your daughter's father?" And that, yeah, I ain't checking for him. He ain't checking for me. But it works for her. No, every day is not perfect. It is not always peaches and cream, right? Do we have our disagreements? Yeah. Do we have arguments? Yeah, I would say argue. We don't really argue too much. We definitely have some disagreements, and I'm usually gonna be the one who raises my voice, right? But regardless of what, she's able to still see how we can have that resolution and find our common ground and get back to the peace that's within the home, right? So I think when we don't see that as kids and young adults, when we grow up, we don't even have the example of what that looks like. So when it's in our face, we get conflicted. We're like, I know I need to go, but I feel like I should stay because I love him and I love her. And then we have to realize that is bigger than that because we're doing more harm to ourselves than good. And so I'm gonna stop there, but I also want to just kind of make a comment on something that was put here. Distractions affect some people's mindfulness. They forget when they're with when sorry, when they were with what? Hazel, girl, you got your glasses on. Figure it out. Distractions affect some people's mindfulness. They forget when they were one with their woman. I think that that's applicable on the other side too, when they were one with their man. So we have to make sure that we are addressing both sides of the fence because men have a lot that come with them, but what we're not going to do is bash them because women, we have a lot that come with us as well. So we need to make sure that we are talking about it from both sides. So,
Damn.
May I?
oh no, I'm gonna call us out because if we don't, that's the accountability piece, right? I got my share of shit that comes with me, and I know that, but I'm accountable for self. And in saying that, you also have to be doing the work to improve self. And these are things that I've done. And so, as a woman, as a Black woman, I get to say the things that I say when I'm combating other women and Black women who want to come in a negative connotation towards men, specifically Black men, because we start bringing all of the toxic things that we've been through and we continue carrying this baggage with us. We know we haven't learned yet that we were supposed to drop that off 3 bus stops ago. And we were supposed to leave it right there because as we're trying to get to the next stop, once we get there, if we got all this baggage, we can't even show up properly to the destination. Right. So we're where we want to be and we don't even know how to receive it because we're so busy stuck now holding on to those other things. And so a lot of times we bring toxicity into spaces so much that we end up blocking our blessings. And I say that because I've done that. Right. And I had to realize I had a really, really, really great person in my life. And it got to the point where he was like, yeah, I don't want to do this on any level with you. And I had to self evaluate, like, whoa, wait a minute. Because now I'm realizing how you're experiencing me. And I don't want you to have that experience from me. So I had to make the adjustment. And now we are two dope ass friends who have a great time with one another. And we've realized that what the dynamic of our relationship should be. Right. And I think that for anyone in general, we have to start showing up for people how they need us to show up for them and not how we want to show up for them. Because in that, that's when we start bringing things and pieces of other spaces and relationships into that because we're like, well, maybe they like, maybe they want, they don't want none of that. They don't like none of that. What do you need from me? How can I show up for you? And vice versa. So that way we can get to the same book, same page, same line, same word.
So just according to all of the women in the comments, you just helped a whole lot of people.
Man,
Please.
that
Yeah,
was
I would definitely say,
go ahead.
piggying back off of what you were talking about, showing up for people. So for me, I didn't know toxic growing up. I'm the complete opposite. So I had the mom, I had the dad. My parents divorced when I was 5, but you would have never knew it. Kind of like that co-parenting relationship. My dad was
Mhm.
always there. Like he was, most people didn't realize that my parents were divorced until I was graduating high school, and they were like, "Wait a minute, they've been divorced." Like showing up to activities, games, all I knew was love. Like we had blended families, or as just other siblings, you called us the Brady Bunch. Like my mom had one, my dad had two, and together they had 3. So family union, if you ever see anything about me, social media and stuff, you see me with family. Like that's just what we were, was family unit. So that's all I knew. But when I looked at outside experiences, social media, or when I would look at music, or it could be through work relationships, I was like, whoa, this is wild. Like, what y'all doing? Like, what are y'all doing?
Who raised
Like,
y'all?
this is a lot much.
This
Like,
can't
what
be
is going
right.
on? Like, I'm in the church. I'm like, I'm with the Lord. Like, what is y'all doing out here? Y'all wilding. But to that point, I think it's important because to a lot of my good friends, work relationships, I have kind of been that outlet to talk them through, to say, hey, there's something different on the other side. Like I get to understand what they've gone through and maybe why they perceive certain things another way. And then I'm also can be the light too, to tell them that like, hey, it's possible to have something else different as well. So I think, yeah, just being able to kind of have the conversation. I think just seeing all of us is a little bit different part. It's just how our perspectives and things can be, but knowing that, like, hey, just because you didn't do it, don't mean for you to hold all that in. You should be sharing and telling somebody else how to get out of it.
Man, I love this. I love the fact that like why don't we be talking like this? You know, because this out to me when I hear this, it's just everything's it's like a moment of what is it? Progress. Everything is progressive, right?
Mhm.
You know, you saying that you had the type of upbringing that you did and what you saw, and you speaking about your experience, and it's shared information, not from a place of judgment, but it's just shared information that's authentic, and it's positive because it ain't all negative and bad and all of that. But that's again, we got to understand about the input, how input affects us,
Mhm.
right? Because we are energy and input affects us, and why it's so important to protect our peace. And we got to be careful about the input that's being downloaded into our minds and the way we see things, because they'll make
Define input.
everything a bit
Qualified.
anything that gives you uh uh what's the word I'm looking for, that affects you emotionally, physically, or circulatorily, brain wise. It affects you. Input has an effect on you,
Facts.
that's going to bring about an outcome. And so when we plug in all of these negative inputs into our day every day, from music, to what we read, to what we watch on TV, social media, because these are the things that's telling us who we are, right? You gotta understand that. When we talking
Yeah.
about this idea of indoctrination, that's input, information, things that have been given to us that affect us in the way we see ourselves. Because I promise you, we are so much bigger than what we see ourselves right now in this moment. We are, we ain't even close. But the input, right? It then starts to paint a virtual picture in our minds of what's toxic, what's healthy, what's good, bad, all of these things, right? That comes from our input, unless you go inward.
What do you mean by that?
It's my understanding that the word of the creation is written on the hearts of men. And when I say that, that's not to exclude women, because I'm just speaking about the humanity of us, because the souls of us don't have a penis or
Baby,
it's,
we old school. We ain't got
yeah,
time for this. Oh, you can't say ma'am, sirs,
yeah.
him, bros. This.
Hey,
Listen, we
hey,
get it.
so
That part.
the souls of us are it's just a commonness, it's a oneness of us, and it's these all of these ideas and things that always speak about the separation of us instead of the things that bind us, right? And so that's the view in which we look at everything and everybody instead of a oneness. So when we start to talk about a solution to a thing, I believe if we start just in that one place, if I see you not as a man, woman, black, white, Mexican, but if I see you as I see myself, which is the energy and the spirit of that which created everything, whatever you want to call it, God, Jesus, Yahweh, Allah, whatever it is. But if I look at you, the humanity of you, when I look at you, right, I see me and I treat you accordingly. When we talk about this self love, right, and I treat you accordingly, I can never fail. I can
Let
never
me
fail.
let me pivot. I'm not going to add to that, but since we're talking about defining like toxicity and healthy relationships, how do you guys um how do you know when you being gassed or if it's being genuine? Because if you're being gassed and that could be toxic. Because there would be sometimes I like certain things. Like I'm all, now since I've been on the show, I've been keying in on other stuff all the time, right? And I I was listening to a conversation and someone had said something to someone that was genuine, but they thought they were being gassed. And I thought that was interesting because it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, you got to know the person, and everything else. So I think that's pretty interesting because, yeah, don't gas me, what I'm saying, unless we doing it just, whatever, whatnot. Like, I know you gassing me, what I'm saying? Um, but, you know, how do you define, like, how do you see these things and how do you differentiate? And then please do not say intuition. You know what I'm saying? Like it's because intuition may be part of it, but like I think it has a lot to do with. I'm not going to tell y'all the answer. I'm not going to tell you how to answer my question. My bad. There, I posed the question.
So,
I'm
well,
gonna.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Well, I'm again. I'm a clarity person. Like Miss Hayes said earlier, that I agreed with. I'm a understand. I need understanding. So, and I'm getting old. So my definition of so my definition of so you got different definitions. This new definition of gas lighting is called gas, but you got my definition of gassing somebody that is a little different, So what, like, to gas somebody up,
Yeah,
like,
let's
I
hear
feel
it.
like you hyping them up. No, like
yeah,
Yeah.
you hyping them up. That's my definition of gas, but that's a little different. It's a little different than gas lighting, So when you say gas, do you mean gassing somebody up or
Mhm.
gas lighting?
Would be gaslighting. It's funny. Even though we hear gas a lot now, I went back when I was listening to an old Pac song, and you said, "I'm not trying to gas you up. I'm just telling you how I feel." And I
Yeah,
was like, you know what? That word been around for a minute. Like
it's been exactly.
yeah,
that's
it's been
old
around
school,
for a
baby.
minute.
We've been
I ain't
saying
trying to
gas,
gas you up.
gas just since the '90s. Now we all are of a certain age here. I don't
Mhm.
know. I come from New York, so we've been saying that forever.
Oh,
So
I
we've
don't
been
know.
saying that since
We've
the
been
early '90s. Like,
we've been
don't
saying
gas
it
you
in
up or don't gas up his head, or like that's old to us. So like,
yeah.
it is important to differentiate between gas and gaslighting because to us, you gas somebody up, you hyping them up. Like I'm out with my girls and they look fly. I'm like, girl, you I'm gassing
Mhm.
them up,
That's
right? I see a
gas.
man out in the street, he look good.
Mhm.
All right, sir, I see what you. We gassing them up, right? So
All that,
that's
all
different. But
that.
I think so. Gassing can be a positive thing when you're gassing somebody up, but gaslighting is
Mhm.
definitely negative, right? So
So
I've been in this
gas is
space. I'm out
genuine.
here. Yeah,
Gas is
That's
genuine,
the
and
difference between
yeah,
it
gaslighting
should
is
be.
okay.
I would say that it should be genuine, but you got some people out here who like low key like to throw shade. So you do have to be mindful of who the person who you're receiving it from really is and who they are to you, right? But like gaslighting. So I'm in a phase where I'm dating everybody, because why not? I was in a relationship for 4 years and I'm outside. Not in that kind of a way, right? Let me be clear. But why not? And so I was dating someone, and when every single time I tried to tell him how he wasn't showing up for me, it was an excuse, and it was this, and it was like, well, I'm not. You see that, like, I'll be out with him and his friends, and it's like, oh, but I don't even show up for them like that. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about how I am experiencing you and how you are not showing up for me. Even more, you're not showing up for me on things that you said that you would do. I didn't ask you for it. And then when I come back to you about it, now I'm tripping. Now I'm the one who this is that and the third. Nah, play, you're not getting ready to do that. So we had a moment, and I was like, when I get done with this sentence, I'm not saying another word. And when I said word and hit the period at the end of that, and he got the talking, and I literally said no more words after that, and we hadn't spoke since, because I had to mean it, right? I was tired of me trying to express myself, my feelings, tell you how how I need to experience you, tell you how how you're not showing up for me, and then you receive it, at least to understand what I'm saying, and then we figure out what to do next. But you're not going to try to gaslight me and make me correct on the heavy manipulation with extra sugar, honey. It was honey on top, sugar, it was all of the things, right? And I'm like, I don't even have a sweet tooth, so I don't even want any parts of this, right?
I wasn't even hungry.
It's crazy, but it's
Real,
crazy.
right? And so
Yeah,
that's how you really got to start to understand the difference in that. I knew, like, no, this is not what I wanted. So earlier when I said how I'm learning to stand firmer in my boundaries, that was where it started. Like, yeah, nah, you did this, and I heard it the first time, and I was like, okay, maybe he's just not understood. Second time, no, I'm not in the business of repeating myself. Okay, you got it. You go and be great, and I hope that you get everything that you deserve. That's all I got for everybody moving forward.
Real quick, Miss Hayes, I gotta ask, and again, this is completely tangential. When's your birthday month?
November.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
I am first day 11/22. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna say,
It's the fire sign energy.
I was gonna say Sagittarius, and then you feel like you got some Libra in there, but yeah, Sag. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, sad gang. I wish we had a sign for that. I can't put my fingers up. I've been threw up the wrong side. Somebody like, we gonna go get her now.
Like,
I just want to add a little bit to that. I can sit here when you were speaking. It was like, wow, like I almost felt like a church moment where you'd be like, I swear that pastor was speaking to me. That's what I felt like, because I hear that. Now I'm a driven person, right? And so I don't have nobody to. I depend on. Now I got brothers, I got family, so I'm not saying it like that. But when I'm talking about a purposeful life, I'm not looking outside of myself for my purpose, right? And so everybody not gonna get that, right? And sometimes you can be so driven and caught up in that. It may seem selfish. At least that's how I feel when I'm looking at it from the inside out. But hearing you say what you said, because I heard that before, right? It's not that I didn't care or it didn't matter to me or it didn't. It's just that in this moment, right, I'm in the flow of my purpose. And so at that time, everything else it takes a back seat because it's my purpose. Right?
Then vocalize that.
Right.
And say that.
But that's the thing, in that purpose, I was so caught up in this, right? I'm here. I'm like this, right? That I wasn't hearing what she was saying to me, right? And I'm gonna tell you, and so when you were saying what you were saying right now, it just brought it back, because now I'm in a place, in a space where it's very clear. It was very, very, very freaking clear. Um, so again, I commend conversations like this, because you never know how the information that you share with somebody is for them in that moment. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. I just wanted to tell you that.
Of course. Thank you. No problem.
I'm telling you, y'all helping, y'all changing people's lives. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do. I've got my two, and I know Sean gonna get me talking about some intuition, but it's two things. I already done said I'm a church girly. One, I'm praying for discernment because God gonna tell me who is for me and who is not for me. So in the space that I'm in, for as relationships, like I said, I know where the space exactly what I want. So I'm going before Him and asking for discernment. Remove people that are not for me and put people in front of me that are for me. Second is action. You can't gaslight me like without I'm going to know eventually, like because of your actions. So to give you an example, here in the new city in Charlotte area, I have people social media all the time. Oh, you're so gorgeous. I'm gonna take you out on a date. I'm gonna do. I'm the type of person. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm not gonna say no to it. Let me see. I'm gonna give you a chance. Come on, let's do this. So I agree to it. The same person been coming at me for months. Like always, oh girl, you look great. You gotta let me take you to dinner. I'm like, sure, to win. And they'll set a date. That date get ready to come. Don't hear from them. Don't nothing. Couple of weeks will pass. They do the same thing. And I'm like, you just showed me. Like you're not ready for what I am. Like I will tell you my intentions up front and let you know what it is and what I'm going for. But I'm going to know by action. You're not going to be able to get. I'm not going to stay in something. I'll be able to see it in the first couple of weeks to be able to recognize it. Versus
Amen.
where some people I feel like would be like, oh, well, they'll make an excuse. No, I'm not making an excuse. Well, I had this going on, or I had this going. Okay, well, you're in it, like how you mentioned a while ago, you didn't know, or she didn't vocalize it. I vocalized it to you what I wanted. You're in a different space. You got something else going on. I'm going to let you go handle that. You come back to me correct when you're ready. That's
And
just how I
that's
You know,
feel about
okay, right? But
Right.
people,
it. Yeah.
one, are afraid to say it, speaking as
Yeah.
someone who was previously afraid to say it because we're afraid of the loss. But it's like, is it really a loss? Because if
exactly.
it's hurting me, I'm losing regardless. And in the midst of that, I'm losing emotionally and I'm losing my time. And I can't get that back.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey,
And so it's
mhm.
I can't, not anymore. Not anymore. We are not
Yes.
doing it.
So you
You
said
know,
that twice about wasting time, right? Uh, that that's the key to me. Like I had a kid that said to me a week or so ago, uh, it was like, "Are you mad because we wasting your money?" Nah, I'm mad because you wasting my time because I can make more money to buy more stuff. I can't get time back. Once that's gone, it's gone. I don't unless you have a hot tub or a DeLorean. We can't get it back. I ain't figured it out yet. I read the ABCs of physics. I've been trying to figure it out for decades. I ain't got it yet. You know, I don't have a hot tub and I don't have a DeLorean. So, once that time is gone, you can't get it back. So that's why time is so precious, you know. So,
And
uh
we gonna borrow time anyway at this big age. Shit, I need every second to count.
yeah,
you
real,
know, and I think
That
that's a
every
part.
really
second,
good
for real.
that's a really good point that you guys just made because I was I was telling Scrap that I'm 47 and I've heard of course a majority time in my life people like, oh, you wasting my time, but that starts to become like a cliche, like you hear it so much you don't know, right? Until now I'm at the age where I'm like, damn, nigga, like you wasting my time, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm actually looking at the clock now too, and so it's of course we all learn and experience things at different times and different ages and stuff, right? But it's interesting, like of course we're talking, having discourse, and it's also for other people too. It's like, when do you realize like how valuable your time is? You know what I'm saying? Like how old do you get, or what are you doing with yourself that you value your time more? So that way, if you ain't doing shit, then you don't feel like your time being wasted because you ain't doing shit. But if
Mhm.
you own something and you striving for something, then now that time, that energy could have been put somewhere to get a return, a return on your investment. So I get it, man. Like,
ROI.
huh?
I
I didn't
said
hear you.
ROIs,
I,
baby.
I mean, so let me say it like this. I led a rough uh teenage, you know what I'm saying? Like my teenage years was rough, and not to get all heavy into it, but it's like I didn't think I was gonna live to see 21. I
Mhm.
just didn't. I'm a black man in Kansas City, Missouri. I lived in the inner city. I didn't think that I was gonna live to see 21. you know. And so now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm counting summers. Like I got like 30 good summers left. I ain't trying. Hey, I ain't got time to waste. I got and when I say 30 good, I'm like at least I got at least 30 good summers left. I ain't trying to waste it. I ain't trying to, I'm counting I'm counting tacos and tequilas. That's what I'm counting. Like I got about 30 good tacos and tequilas left, and I ain't trying.
That's a festival, Jaleesa, that we have. They go around she was looking like she didn't really get it. It's a concert that comes around every summer. So that's a tacos and tequila concert.
Tacos and tequila. I got 30 good
So
tacos
like
and
we don't eat
left.
tacos and drink tequila with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So
Hey,
I like
I'm
look,
teasing.
half hood, half holy. Like balance, balance.
I like
That's
No,
always
that's right.
key.
Just took a moment to poke. No, that's
What,
dope.
what question?
30 good.
uh when we talk about the toxic relationship versus the healthy relationship, and we mentioned earlier about like self-love. We also talked about the time and attention that we give to one another, and we talked about the different like lack of communication, lack of what understanding what you really want out of a relationship, uh building skills that help you two people, work together for a common goal or what. But one of the things that I ran into in my life is having a time for everything, right? So when we talk about to develop the communication skills, like I can hear you, I can hear everything that everybody that we're saying to each other, but to have time to work on that for myself, the self-love time, right? Do we ever think about that individually when we talking about living our life with a partner? Do ever, of course, we always can. It's like a smack in the face. We always see what we're not getting, right? But are we paying attention to giving the time, the grace, the time for people to do their own work on themselves? You know what I mean?
It depends. I think that it would depend on how much work needs to be done because most people, especially of a certain age, and specifically when it comes to Black women, a lot are in a space where it's like, baby, you got to come to me knowing I'm not teaching anyone anything. And while I wholeheartedly understand that and can agree with that, I also think that because we are individuals, right? We got to give that person an opportunity and give them the grace to get to know us because we're different than the last person that they were with. They're different than the last person that we were with. So there has to be a little bit of a learning period for both and a teaching period because that's when I get to teach you, or not necessarily even teach you, but tell you how I need you to love me, how I need you to like me, how I need you to show up for me, and vice versa. And then we do have to grant people time to do that. Now, that time frame, I can't tell you what that is. You have to decide that for yourself, right? It can be 2 months, it can be 2 years, right? But again, you know what that time frame is. But I think that social media just clouds so much judgment, and we don't think with clear heads that we're so, oh my God, I've gotten with you today, and in 90 days if we're not in a relationship then I can't do this anymore, and if we are not married within a year then I can't do this anymore. Baby, you barely know a person in 90 days.
Shoot.
I don't even call
Barely
you
know a
my
person a
friend.
year.
Yeah, if I
A
ain't known you
job,
3
but you have to
years,
think about it, right? A job is damn near giving you 90 days to figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, they let you go. But if you like, but damn, I got to day 75 and I'm really just getting a grasp of who you are and how I can really show up, I need more than those 90 days. Right. And so I think that when we approach things, I don't know, I'm an outside of the box kind of a thinker. And so I just try to look at it from different perspectives, right? We get so caught up in, to your point, what you were saying, and what we see that others have that what we don't have, and all of these other things. And I think for me, the space that I'm in now, I am resetting my life's algorithm because I'm like, I know how to change my social media algorithm. I know how to get what I want in my feed on Instagram and Facebook and all this. I know how to do that. But I have to make sure that my life, what I'm looking at of these two eyeballs and these other two lenses here that help me see the world clear, I have to know what that looks like there. Right. And so, I mean, I don't know, just my 2 cents.
You,
So,
but
I'm
you,
just a
all right,
girl.
Amazing.
wait a minute, let me say this real quick because she said something earlier about the relationship between her mom and her stepdad, and
Mhm.
we built so differently now because even though it was toxic in the beginning, but due to her steadfastness, the last half of it was pretty good according to what you shared.
Mhm.
And so I think that speaks volumes because the way we built, we want some instant gratification. We like what Reese was saying earlier, we so into ourselves that we don't even know that even that is being toxic, and then we're not even being patient to see you through certain things, and then just thinking about knowing how to love somebody through something,
Mhm.
what I'm saying, how to love by somebody, and if it's worth loving somebody by somebody through something too. I mean, it's so many different, I guess, aspects of that. But I just thought it was real interesting that you said that, and then it made me think about how how your folks was paid.
Mhm.
Your mother was patient, and she got her outcome. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And something I can't recall who said it earlier, and it was about like the way that we love now and how a lot of it comes from indoctrination. And so while I do agree with that, I also think if you think of the period of like the 60s and the 70s and even the early 80s, I would say kind of like before crack really came in and started tearing up our communities, Black love was a real thing. Right now, granted, you had daddies who was out here making other families and babies, but let me tell you something: home base was cared for properly. Home base was loved properly, right? And then we just got into the systematic things that had came and separated the families, right? And then we never really bounced back from that, and then we went into this whole, and this is not an attack on women when I say this, so I just want to be clear with that, but we went into this whole Miss Independent era, and it became a I don't need a man and this that and the third. Well, girl, keep that shit over there, excuse my language, but I don't necessarily need one per se, but I want one. Yes, I'm an independent woman. I own my own house. I own my own car. I have a good job. I'm coming with all of the things. I got my passport. I do the things, right? However, comma, I don't want to do those by myself forever. I do want the partnership. Two heads are greater than one. Isn't that what they say? Right.
right.
And so for me, it's just the like, how can we get back to that? I can still be independent and be, I guess I would say codependent because I don't want to necessarily say
Interdependent.
dependent
Inter,
to
Interdependent.
dependent. Yes,
inter.
and then I'll be interdependent, right? So I both can exist and be true. And I can be a stand-up woman on my own. What the song say? I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force and we together. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because
No,
there's a
no,
song for everything. So I'm
yeah,
always get a song
absolutely.
reference. Right. And I think that when we understand that, that's when the mind shift starts to change. It's not about, oh, I don't want a man and I don't need a man. Technically, we don't need any of that, right? You can have a baby without a whole man being involved. Let's be clear. So you don't. We need what he got, yeah, but without that physical, you get what I'm saying, right?
We
And
get
so
you.
I think that there's a need to a certain extent, and we have to get past the whatever we're seeing in the outside world or what we think it is, because social media, I think, only accounts for a small percentage, but that small percentage speaks so loudly, right? Like how they tried to paint black men as black bad fathers and bad dads, and I don't know a black man who's not a good father, and I know plenty of them. I don't know a black man who's not a good dad to children that they've birthed or have not, right? And so for me, I'm like, well, where's this narrative coming from, and how did y'all come to that conclusion, right? But we let these little things that we see become so grand, and we're not even looking past that, and then that becomes the end all be all, and so we're just going to run with that. We let society and all of its things come in between us, and no one said, but there's more. How do we get to the more, or how do we get back to what was, because it worked? So
I
again,
gotta
find my
go.
reset button.
I gotta go back to your question about the time and giving people time to kind of I guess, grow in that. So I've been on both sides of it. And I think that depends on where you are, where I'm at this age and what I want. Like, I don't have children, and I know that that's kind of like that's something that I want. But years ago, back in my college years, I dated potential. Like, I was the person that had already finished school, had the job, like, had everything. And I was allowing you to go through that, to go through your business and kind of gravitate through all of that. So I've been through that stage before where I've dated off of potential. Was it a bad relationship? No. It's just as we got older, we kind of grew apart. And it was different things that's when I really started taking time for myself to care for me and like, well, what does Jaleesa really want? Because all my life, like I sacrificed to this person. This person had kids. So everything in that relationship was a compromise. Like I I took time to stay in Alabama. I had opportunities after I finished to travel and go to places, and I was like, no, I'm in this relationship. I'm going to stay here. You got kids. This is going to be more convenient. This is what I'm doing for you. And then it was other things in careers that I just didn't take those opportunities. I stayed. So I gave time, I felt like, in that to allow you to grow and kind of figure things out. But when I started doing more self-care of myself, I'm like, what does Jaleesa actually want? Let me step away from I'm here with family, I'm doing what nieces, I'm doing what nephews, I'm doing what everybody else wants, but not what Jaleesa actually wants. So when I took time to and I had to, it got to a point where I'm just like, I'm tired. And so when I took that self-care moment, that's when I realized like, hey, you have to make time for you to find out what you really want, or that's going to put you in places where you're like, am I really happy? Am I truly not? So like this leap for me coming to Charlotte was something totally different. Like no family here, like it was work that was here, but it's like, baby girl, this is something for you. Like this is something for you to be able to step out. My picture was Sweet Home Alabama. Everybody's having kids around me. Everybody having family. Here I am. I'm just like, wait a minute. And out of that 8-year relationship, I took time to be single. So I tell people like, don't jump into anything quick. You don't have to necessarily. Single isn't a bad thing. Like single is an opportunity to grow and kind of enjoy not only just from a relationship standpoint, but just really get to know yourself of who you are, so you can navigate through it. It better my work relationships, like with leadership and stuff that I do, just because I found out me, I found my own voice. So that's what I would encourage people to do is, you can see it from different perspectives. So I've been it on both sides.
That's
I
dope.
love that.
Allow me to add this. One of the deepest questions I was ever asked was probably the shortest question I was ever asked. Uh, and the question was, who are you? Right? That was the deepest question that I was ever asked in my life. The absolute deepest question. Who are you? Right? And the reason that I bring that up is because I have a firm belief. And this is just my notorious opinion. You can take it or leave it. But my thing is this. If you don't know who you are, follow me now. If you don't know who you are, how can you possibly know who it is that you want to be with? So here's my notorious opinion. If you don't know who you are yet, then everybody you present yourself to, you're presenting your representative. That's your representative that you are portraying as the real you, because you don't know who you are. You've never asked yourself nor answered the question of, who am I? And if you don't know who you are, how the hell can anybody else know? How can anybody else, how can you present who you are if you don't know who you are? And so everything you say and present to anybody else is your representative. Dig that?
That's good.
Hmm.
That's good.
That's
Because
the
I think
thing.
influences have power over that. Would y'all say? So your
That's what
social
social
media,
media.
what you see around
Oh
you,
yeah,
like, oh, this person's
absolutely.
getting married, this person's having a baby. I want to do that, or do you really, or is
Feels
it just
right after the
because what you
baby's born
see?
and they not together no more, because that seems to be the thing. Everyone's getting married and having babies, and then once the baby gets here, nobody's together anymore. So it's like, well,
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's I wanted to
What are
tap
we really doing?
that idea of who you are, and then to add to that, just to remember that where is the information coming from that's telling you who you are?
Social media,
Nah, it's, I'm telling y'all,
IG.
where is the information coming from that's telling you who you are or who you supposed to be or who whatever? And I said to y'all earlier about the truth is in the experience. If you don't understand that life is the experience, that's the whole. The truth is in the experience, and so figuring out who you are comes. If it's coming from the inside, it's going to come from the experience versus the input information that everybody is telling you. You know, this is who you got to be. I remember just thinking, and recently in the last couple of years, you know, the women of my in my family, you know, I wanted to be a good man, right? A good son, a good father, a good husband, a good brother, a good cousin, a good nephew, a good all these things. They had me going all over the damn place. And the further and further that I tried, or the more that I tried to be that definition of what they were saying, the further and further I got away from who I actually was. I
Mm,
had no clue. These are the people that I trust, that that love me, telling me who I'm supposed to be. Do you Can you understand the magnitude of that? That's supposed to come from my creator.
mhm.
But I'm trying to please my mama. I'm trying to do I don't got no time for me. I don't got no time to work on me. I don't got no time for nothing but making sure all of
Everybody
your
else is
needs
happy.
is met.
Mhm.
So that's why I pose the question when you're talking about the black men that we love. Right.
Mhm.
The one that when we don't have time to work on ourselves, to find that balance, peace, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, so that we can choose correctly and understand who we are and where we're evolving to be and all of those things, right? This is what we get. You just get a mindless robot walking around trying to please everybody, and you actually don't never accomplish or get nothing done because you don't know who you are. And it can't come from outside of you. It can't. The word of
So I got a
creator
question.
is in your
I'm
heart.
curious minds want to know when you say that a black man does not have time, if you've identified that to say, I don't have time because I dealt with whatever else, what does that look like going forward? If you've identified it and you've told this other person that, like, hey, I'm not where you want me to be, what would you say as a black man that you're doing to get yourself there?
I'm a weirdo, first of all. But I tell you this, what I had to do for me, because like I said, the intent in my heart is to be the good black man, right? To be that. And there's so many definitions of that, right? From so many different inputs, right? That it'll just have you spread so thin that you lose yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and that's how I felt, like for real. Like when I thought about what I was giving all my energy to, right, with the things that one would say is those commendable moral things, right, it was all for somebody else. And I have been locked up. I was locked up for a long decade and decades and decades. Let me get this. And decades, right? So um my experiences was limited. So like you talk about time, I don't got much time to waste. And so I was trying to be all of those things that I wasn't allowed to be while I was gone away from my family, right? Because I love the black woman. But man, they spread you so thin. They don't give you time to work. But on top of that, y'all know we got to deal with Uncle Sam. We got so much to deal with. And all I say, the women too, it's the same thing. The love and the grace that we should have for one another is to understand individually. First, we only answer to our creator. You don't answer to me, and I don't answer to you. We can say, you don't need me, and I don't need you. And all of it's a lie. We can stay stuck in our ego and keep regurgitating this crap. That's all I was saying. But what I learned in that moment is I had to step away from what everybody else was telling me is the good man, the good husband, the good brother, the good, and find myself, right? And the only
Well,
way I
you gotta.
do
Do you believe that everything that everybody might, you gotta learn how to pull the truth out of everything. Sometimes, like you can listen to somebody for an hour and mind you get 10 seconds of a nugget. Like, damn, I had to listen to that whole damn hour to get this 10-second nugget. So I'm not gonna discount everybody,
right,
but you also, but I get it because you too busy. Like everybody's always trying to give you input. We trying to give out input, right? And so you unless you know the person, because again, like if you know the person and you see them being able to walk that out, then you're more likely to be like, you know what, this person has figured it out. I can, they can give me some input that I'm gonna receive that, So, but it doesn't mean that you discount because I mean I get I glean jewels from a lot of different sources, a lot of bullshit too. I got to like dig through too to get to it, but I'm just patient and I love you through it. You know what I'm saying? Until I figure out if that person is wasting my time. So I'm only give you so much time out of that too. But hey, let's think about I know um we should get to the point where out of everything that we talked about, like how do we give back? Like how do we from our relationships that we've had, from the knowledge and the wisdom from we learning from other people, how do we give back and kind of like, let the next person know that's listening, like you know, what how to maintain what we've basically regurgitating what we've said, like sum it up to be like how do we recognize toxicity and how do we move to healthy and how do we stay in healthy? You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
So
Anybody.
let's do it like this. Let's go from like everything Phoenix just said. Let's move through those stages and let's see if we can do it in under 2 minutes.
That part. Ladies first. We always like the ladies go
Let's
first.
let's go let's go Miss Hayes, then Jaleesa.
So say it one more time so I can make sure I'm answering this right.
So
How are
so
we
just
going from toxic to healthy to staying unhealthy?
yeah, like how do you recognize toxicity?
Hmm.
How do you move that to healthy? How you stay in healthy? So just like the just I don't know, like the path of life. Like,
I got you. Okay.
yeah.
So what I would say is to recognize it is to understand how it's making you feel internally. If you feel nervous, if you feel anxious, if it is making you tired, if it's draining you, if it's taking from you and not giving to you, it's toxic. Now you have to decide if you want to communicate to that person how they're making you feel and see if it's worth the adjustment in that situation, then I'm going to absolutely say do that, right? But if that is not the case, then you have to step away, you have to take time for self, reevaluate self. What are my do's? What are my don'ts? What are my likes? What are my dislikes? What am I going to accept? What am I not going to accept? That's where the boundaries come into play, right? Because now that's when we start welcoming what's healthy for us into our lives. Everyone's different definition of what's healthy for them is different, right? And so then when we get there and we get back into the space where we're dating, right? Then we have to recognize and one, be vocal, right? So to your point, Jaleesa, you were like, I know what I want and I speak that, right? We have to speak what we want from the beginning, and then either the person will show up for you or they won't, right? We all want everyone who we interact with to be healthy for us, but unfortunately that is not the case. But we also have to use, again, as Jaleesa was saying, that discernment, like, you know what, this isn't good for me, this isn't good for my spirit, and so I have to remove myself. But I think once you, to the point of discover who self is and who you are, who am I, right? Who am I is going to define what I'm going to accept in my life and what I'm going to allow in my life. And once you've come to that, then moving forward, you will only choose healthy because that's you resetting your life's algorithm. And you're like, no, this doesn't align with that. So if it doesn't align, what he said, if it don't, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Like,
That part.
right? So If it's not fitting for you in your life, then you really have to let it go and be okay with that and know that what is for you will not pass you by. And that is one of the hardest things that I had to come to terms with. But as I've come to terms with it, I'm like, you know what? Whatever I've always needed has been here, and anything that I didn't need has always left. And so I'm okay with that. That's people, places, friends, things, family, all of that, right? And we have to be okay because sometimes it's not a loss, it is a gain.
Mhm. Real talk.
Yeah,
Good.
that's good.
Nice. Yeah,
I
it's good.
For me, just a quick kind of sum it up is thinking back about toxic again. I'm going to think of it like a chemical label when it tells you toxic warning. It's going to be harmful, and what it's going to cause you. If you, like you said to your point, Hayes, if you feel that, and I'm a journal girly, I write different things down so I can reflect on it. What's that? The do's and the don'ts.
Or
If
journal.
the good outweighs, if the
Mhm.
good outweighs the bad, what is it? The 80. Oh, Tyler Perry, the 80/20 rule.
80/20.
Like the 80/20 rule. Like if you're figuring out and you know, like, hey, this was just awful for me. And this is the perfect time because it's a new year reset. Like, hey, what happened to me last year that I did not like? And going forward this year, what do I not want? What made me happy? What things did I do in my life to help me that's better that I really like? Ooh, I enjoyed this time. I enjoyed this trip, or I enjoyed that. Like what write it down, look at it, like, what was I doing? What made me feel a certain way? And so if it does, you'll cling to that. Even your influences and people that you're around. I've noticed when I've got to do like certain things, I've gotten around certain people and I'm like, man, they just always talking negative, or they always talking about just something that just pulls me away. Okay, well, why am I speaking to them every day? Like, why am I doing that? So if it's something where I'm getting on a podcast or something, I'm like, man, that was so good. Like, I got to listen to that again. Like, that was just positive. It fed me. It fueled me. I told y'all again, I'm gonna go back to church. It fuels me. It gives me something that's positive to kind of go through out my day. I'm going to continue to go into that, and I'm going to stay in it. But I think awareness and recognizing where you are, and being okay with where you are if you're not where you want to be, but
Mhm.
just know the direction of where you want to go. And I think that's you kind of got to have a plan or an outline of that. And if you don't, I think somebody had just said it or put it on there, like if you're in toxic and that's all you know, you're gonna stay because that's all you
Absolutely.
surround yourself with. So
Mhm.
If I could just on the tail end of that, sorry, definitely heavy on the journaling, right? I think that we get so stuck on our phones that we forget the power of paper and pen, which is
Yeah.
which is equal to the power of words. So we have to be mindful of what we speak out of our mouths, because if we speak on all I receive is negativity and I can't get anyone to love me and all of this, that's all you're going to bring to you, right? So go ahead and read The Secret, watch it. The movie is just like the book. It We are magnetic forces, right? And so we have to use what we have to get what we want. I can't tell you how many times I've looked back in my journal, like even down to buying my house. I completely forgot that I wrote about it. And when I went back and was just reviewing my journal, I was like, damn, you better go, girl, right? And so I think that that's important, right? That's where that self-reflection comes in. But too many times we don't want to sit with self because it's uncomfortable. But we grow in the spaces that are uncomfortable. This is your comfort space. Everything outside of that is where the growth happens, right? So this is so much bigger than this. And we got to get outside of that. Go and sit with yourself, be by yourself, write to yourself, talk to yourself in that manner, and then come back to it, because we have to get clear on what it is that we really do want and need, who we really are. And then that's when that whole Venn diagram piece comes into play, right? And then we meet what's where in the middle and we take what we need and we go.
Mhm. It's funny. You actually took the point that I was
Oh,
gonna
sorry.
get. No, that's fine. I was like, okay, all right, we clicking, we click, because I was thinking like in the beginning, you might not even recognize toxicity, because it's just so much. It's around you, and so it's funny. A homegirl of mine posted something the other day about some ladies getting into a fight, and people were cheering it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's just something that just seems to be, it wasn't nothing to be cheering about. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, to be honest with you. I didn't like seeing it. And, but when you have everybody around you that doesn't say like, that ain't cool, You know what I'm saying? Then they just helping you stay in that toxic place. So, so for one, I think like a really good point that you made is like, you might not recognize toxicity, but be like what Jaleesa said. Learn how to just be like, this person's not corny because they do things that you haven't been raised to do, that you don't recognize to do. And if you're seeing positive outcomes, then why not want to model that? Why you want to stay here? You know what I'm saying? So for me, like, I learned that I was definitely, I had toxic traits, and also was attracted to toxicity. And to you guys' point, like right now, I am in a self journey to like rediscover shine. Excuse me, Phoenix Smoke. All right, rediscover Phoenix Smoke. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with it. Like, I don't let people push me into any relationships I don't want to be in. And so that's how I'm moving forward. You know what I'm saying? I'm really doing the work. You know what I'm saying? And the work is working on the inner me. And as I'm continuing to work on the inner me, I think it's gonna already reveal who you need to stay the hell away from. Because I know on my journey, if you don't, I mean, I love you where you at. You know what I'm saying? I got you, but I'm starting again to be better with my time. And for those who are not, on any type of similar path, you get less and less time. And if you think about really successful people, they really don't have time to deal with folks that they, like they recognize you don't have the same mindset, and they give you less of their time. And I'm like, I started to notice that, and I'm like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I really do get it. And so I just wanted to just encourage everybody to stay on their journey, and start calling things out what they are. If it's toxic, it's toxic. If you don't understand what toxic is, and it makes you uncomfortable, research it, do some time. You know what I'm saying? Sit in it until you can get an understanding. And also, again, find somebody that you might construe that shows that shows a healthy relationship, and ask some questions, man. Be mentored or something. Get some information somewhere, in the books, through people, all the above. That's all I'm gonna say.
Toxic. I look at it everything I hear, I just pictured like a energy vampire, right? Whenever you try to do something beneficial, helpful, or high vibrational, you have this energy that's pulling, trying to distract and take away from that, you know, uh, and disturb your peace. I believe that a healthy relationship for me uh, starts there. If it's around me and it's disrupting the peace that I have on my journey of self discovery, evolution, growth, uh, then it can't be healthy for me. And recognizing that. So, but the only way that I found that I've been able to recognize that is I have to spend time alone. I have to be still, and I have to learn how to go within my spirit. Uh, so that's important, which is one of the points that I've been trying to make for all of us, that we all need time individually to work on the mind, body, and spirit, right? Uh, because everybody's not going to always understand in the same moment on the same level, right? My brother often talked to me and he said, I know you might not get what I'm saying to you in this moment, but I'm not speaking to you in this moment. I'm speaking to you in the future self. And it's so crazy that later, after certain experiences happened, those words that he said and what he was giving me or explaining to me was so crystal clear, I couldn't miss it, right? So having time to be able to work on those things, mind, body, and spirit. And I believe it's a process. You don't know the healthy if you don't know the toxic. Everything is duality. One can't, God can't, light can't exist without dark, right without left, up without down, cold without hot, man without woman. That's the completion. So I'm grateful for it all. What I'm grateful for it all, the toxic and the healthy, right? Because I'm telling you, I wouldn't be able to recognize one without the other. So I could have been trapped in something toxic for a lifetime. You talking about a few years, a few months, As people been in toxic relationships for 45 years. I spoke to women who've never known what it is to be engaged from a place of love versus a place of want. What can I get from you? What you gonna give me? What you got for me? What you gonna do for me? But genuinely, just because I want to see you happy, smile, healthy, safe, secure, whatever. I don't need nothing from you, right? That's that. Yeah, that breaks my heart. So if you don't recognize one, or if you never experienced one, it's gonna be hard for a person to recognize another. But at the same time, balance is all. So when we're reflecting on their past experience of toxic relations, so that we can choose better moving forward, right? Be able to recognize and know what you want, right? Those type of things right there. Still, again, perspective of it, right? So I'm not like angry or mad or hurt or feel. Everything happens to benefit me. Everything. These situations that we in, these conversations that we having, all of these things are happening to build us. It's just that we got to take the opportunity and initiative to give energy to make it be a positive thing. So the negative relationship that we've experienced, the negative areas of time that the negative viewpoint that we see ourselves in for all of those years, bring about this new understanding that's happening, this transition, this evolution that's happening, this clarity that you're speaking about, what you see with, So just be mindful of that. I know I'm still evolving and growing. I'm in the moment. I'm not old. I'm still 15.
One other thing I wanted to share too, just plugging in on that, is don't be fearful of communicating and having the conversation with the person that you're having the toxicity with. I think so many times we share it with other people. We share it with a girlfriend. We share it, man, I can't believe she did this or she did that. I'm like, she don't even know. Or he don't even know.
Mhm.
Like you
No.
never went to actually have the conversation. I know we plugged on this, but what even if it's at work, you may be dealing with something at work. I can't stand my boss. My manager always do this. My manager always do that. Does your manager know? Like, do they even know that? Like, hey, they interrupted your lunch and they did this and they did that. You told the coworker, but you didn't tell your boss. Don't know. That your boss only know what they hear and what you're saying in the back. So
Mhm.
I think sometimes what we're running from of having that crucial conversation, like taking the time to say, hey, I'm just going to share with you my heart. Like, this is how I feel that you did XYZ and made me feel this way, versus just saying the word to get a reaction that most people in their intention, that might not be what they intended to do. So if to give you an example, if I just say, I can't stand you, you get on my nerves, I can't tell you nothing.
That's it.
Like
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that
Versus
mean?
I say yeah, so I have to describe what that is. When you did XYZ, I felt like you weren't hearing me. Is that true or is that not? And that would be more the effective communication versus just to get the response of, "Hey, I'm going to yell at you." I didn't say that. How I get on your nerves? Like that's a huge argument. So you have to think like, am I communicating to get a negative response? How would I respond to what I just said?
Mhm. No, that is important. And we all talked about that earlier, right? The crucial conversations. Yes, they are uncomfortable, but again, crucial doesn't necessarily mean that it is a bad conversation. It is just one that needs to happen, right? And so again, we have got to use our words. We live in a space and a time where everyone wants to text everything and no one wants to have adult conversations. We are too grown to be skating past what we need to say. There is a way to effectively communicate. And to your point, Jaleesa, be my now. I'm the first one who I definitely had to learn this, still learning, right? Because I'm like, but the message was on point, but the delivery was terrible. Hey, so you got to fix
That's
that part, right?
the
So
that
that's
part.
something that I had to understand. And it's okay to stop even when you're in the midst of it and pause so that way you can gather yourself so it can be received. And that's the most important thing. Too many times I just want to get my point across. And you said what you needed to say or what you wanted to say, but you didn't say what you needed to say to get the point across. And so you just spoke words and they heard sounds and now they're tuning you out, or they just listened to respond. They didn't even listen to hear, to to properly understand and comprehend what it is that you were saying, right? So we cannot, and that's kind of what I was leading with, right? We don't even, if we are in a toxic space and you feel like that, then tell that person, give them an opportunity to course correct. If they don't, then you need to leave that and then determine, hey, this is toxic for me. What else is toxic for me? Okay, now I need to figure out what is the opposite of that. How is this healthy for me? And moving forward to the point where, what's your name, Priscilliana? I'm probably saying it wrong, girl. I chopped up your whole name. Miss Garcia here, right? Boundaries. We have got to set them and then learn to stand firm in them. And this is a person who is at 42 finally learning to stand firm in her boundaries, right? But I had to get to this space. I had to continue doing the work that I needed to do. I had to sit with self more. I had to self reflect more internally and outwardly. What was I allowing? Why was I allowing it? Right. And so, and those crucial conversations, sometimes you got to have them with yourself. That's the who am I?
Facts.
Right? That's the what do I want? What do I need?
Desire and motivation. If you don't
Correct.
understand
What
what
also, what
There
am
you
I
go.
bringing and what am I giving? Right? Because it's not just in the receiving piece of it.
Mhm.
How am I showing up?
So,
Because that's part of your algorithm for life. How you show up is how what that's what's going to come back to you. Right? When they
Good
say what
point.
you give is what you get, that
Good
is
point.
so, it's so cliche, but it's so true. It's not just what we're looking to receive, but what are we giving? Because you can say, oh, I want love and I want Prince Charming and I want this and I want that, but you nasty, you mean, you spiteful. That could be for either or, right? So how is it that that's what you want? And you're not even set up to receive those things.
facts. So I think I'm a I'm a rapid by because one of the motifs that I'm getting from everybody is communication, right? Communication, like they say, communication rules the nation. And that being the case, it's again back to the coin. On this side of the coin, you have toxic communication. Toxic communication is one-sided. Toxic communication is gaslit. Toxic communication is not very clear. It's not transparent. Um, it may be, and this is gonna sound crazy. It may be honest. It may be honest. It's just not transparent. You know, and there is a difference between it. Then you flip it to the healthy side. The communication is truly communicative. The communication is very well expressed, very well understood, right? It's not manipulative, it's not critical. you know going back to the
That's
uh,
honest.
going back to the toxic side, it is critical, it is manipulative. So uh and then it has boundaries, like you all said. Healthy communication has boundaries, unhealthy communication does not. you know and at the end of it, it's like to transition all the way. It's like, if you can communicate and be yourself and be comfortable being you, right, with this other person, that's healthy. If you have to be somebody else to be with this person, if I have to be somebody else to be with you, that's not healthy.
Not as,
Message.
not
Message.
as no for real.
But
So I think there is an aspect of emotional well-being in there as well. You the if your emotional well-being is healthy, it's going to foster positive emotions. If it is toxic, it's going to foster negative emotions, right? And going back to what I said earlier, if it's fostering you not wanting to get out the damn car, it might be toxic. If you pull up and you can't wait to get out the car and run in the house, it might be healthy, you know. So,
That's a
with
fact.
that being said, hey, this has
Wait a
been.
minute. Wait a minute. Time out. Don't we have a giveaway?
So
We
we
do have.
do. Uh,
We do. I was about to get to it.
Oh, my bad, bro.
I was.
It sound like the finale. Like,
but wait,
you know.
before we
It
do
is a
that,
finale.
if we can, because we have a question that's in the chat and I would like to answer it.
Which one?
Do you guys believe that things that disturb your peace, if not resolved, can affect your physical health as much as it does your mental and your spiritual? And I'm going to say 100% yes. I was in a
Absolutely.
space where I had someone who had my brain in a fog, and like physically, I was sick. Physically, my body was hurting. Physically, my body was changing to the point where I wasn't getting my cycle, and I had to go to the doctor. Like, something is wrong with me, right? I knew I wasn't pregnant. That wasn't the case, but it was affecting me that much. And we don't understand. That's like how a person can be sick, right, with a disease, and it may, I don't necessarily want to say terminal, right? But when they speak and they pour into that, it brings on more of that, right? And you can be sick. You got a cold, right? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sick. I got this cold. Oh my God, it's not going away. Oh, it's that. And it's going to just kind of linger on a little bit longer. Again, that's the power of the words that we have, right? And so I think that when we start being mindful of that, and realizing, hey, this is not worth my peace. It's giving me a headache. That's a, don't think because it's in your head, it's mental. No, that's a physical thing that's happening to you, right? So we have to recognize those things. When our stomachs start turning, when things don't seem right, that's a physical reaction that's happening to us. Our body talks to us all the time. So we really have to be mindful and make sure that we're paying attention to that, because sometimes that can also be giving you a sign that you are in a space that is not healthy for you.
Right.
I agree, Hayes. That actually happened to me as well, dealing with work
Hmm.
relationships. So to that point, I was sick, and I was like, "What is this?" And it was facing crucial conversations with team members. So
Hmm.
I was a manager, and I'm like, I just want to avoid them, get on about my day. Where it's 5 o'clock, I'm ready for 5 o'clock to be here. But I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can't stop one individual person from stopping me to be able to grow. So it's just
Hmm.
like, hey, you're gonna have to adjust. And I think sometimes we never want to get to the point where our health or our mental is telling
It's
us, okay,
compromised.
you're at the point where you have to do something.
Oh
And so
yeah.
for me, spiritually, I'm like, that ain't nobody but God. Like, I don't, everybody and their mama then told me I need to step away or do something. And then when you get to that space, when it's physical or it's your mental that's affecting you, that's when you know it's real.
All
No,
right.
that's for sure.
So to the aforementioned giveaway, right? So we are pleased to, so you, what you heard numerous times during the pod is crucial conversations, right? That's something that needs to be had, and crucial conversations is actually a book. So we got a book giveaway. Now, how do we want to do it? The first five to what? Subscribe. The first five to comment and say they want it. The first five to what? How we want to do it?
I want whomever, or yes, whomever can give great enough feedback on what they heard today. Like, give us some of your key takeaways. Let us know the value that was added to your life by what you heard today.
All
And
right.
then based on that, then and come with it. I am a reader, I am a writer. We're going to really sit and look at what your responses are, because I think that the conversation that we had was important, and it's one that needs to be carried on. So hopefully you receive some gems that you can take away and bring to your village, your community, your people. But definitely, please just share with us at least one key tidbit that you've taken away from today that will add value to your life, that you will apply to your life and also share. And then we will get you a copy of the Crucial Conversations book. And I'm also sure that we have a copy of the Crucial Conversations workbook. But if you do not want the book to actually want to read it and grow, then please leave the opportunity for someone else who does, because it is an amazing book. Jaleesa and I both sat through the course for it. It is amazing, and it will teach you how to have crucial conversations in all aspects of your life. I've used it to talk to my kid, and she's 12. I've used it to talk to coworkers. I've used it to talk to people and partners, friends. right? And so it's applicable in all areas of life. And if you are not serious about the growth, then again, leave it for someone who is. But if you are, then you will get the book, excuse me, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have a copy of the an additional copy of the
Workbook.
workbook that comes with as well, right? So now as you're reading, you can also apply. And in a sense, that's how you can begin your journaling journey if that's not one that you're already on.
Okay, so here's how we're gonna know. I need you to go to Breakout Media Group on YouTube. Put your comments in. First off, subscribe to Breakout Media Group. Let's start right there. Subscribe to
That part.
Breakout Media Group. That is the
And comment.
platform. Yeah, and so your comments, we're gonna read your comments on the Notoriously Opinionated page on Breakout Media Group. That is my YouTube platform. Breakout Media Group. Go there, make the comment. We're gonna read the comments and then choose the most insightful comment from tonight's conversation. That person or people will get either the book and the notebook, or the workbook, or we can give the book to somebody and the notebook to somebody else. However,
Yeah.
we can. But like Miss Hayes said, if you just want to give an insightful answer, thank you. That's great. If you don't want the book, say that and allow the book to go to someone that can use it and utilize it. Right. Um,
How
but
long you giving them? So when's the cutoff?
uh,
When's the deadline?
the deadline. Let's make the deadline next Tuesday. Let's
Oh,
make
so
the
y'all got
deadline
time.
next
Okay.
Tuesday. Because next Wednesday we're going to get into part 2 of this conversation, which is going to be the conflict resolution part of being in a healthy or toxic relationship, because you're gonna come into conflict sooner or later. This Crucial Conversations book is going to aid you in being able to navigate through those conflicts that you may have in any of your relationships. And so we'll make the deadline Tuesday in time for next Wednesday. All right.
And look,
And
I'm
what,
gonna do a shameless plug for you. They need to tune in next Wednesday because I'm gonna have another book suggestion for you to give to the people. So yes, it'll be helpful in that conflict resolution in relationships. Is the book specifically is primary for, would you call them earlier? What we calling them?
uh,
Panel. What's the
who?
P word you said before, the relationships? And we want to just talk about intimate relationships, right? We're not just
All
going to
right.
talk about the intimate relationships. But this book can be applicable in all areas, right? And how to recognize people. And so we're going to have something for the people. Tune in, subscribe, write your comment, show up next Wednesday. Because if you have not subscribed, then you definitely will not be able to get the book.
So speaking of shameless plugs, I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. Put in your shout out or your shameless plug. Miss Hayes, go.
So one, I'm gonna plug myself. I'm on IG. Holla at me. I'm just a cool chick who likes smoking cigars, drinking bourbon and whiskey. I like to travel. I'm a dope mom. Brown skin, spelled out just how it is. Underscore locks, LOCS 718. I want to plug Therapy is Bay. It is an organization that is founded by one of my good homeboys from Brooklyn, Sid Jackson. Therapy is Bay, BAE, before anything else. It is a great organization that is doing amazing things with helping men, but specifically Black men, find healing in non traditional spaces. And I think that that is extremely important. And I'm into fedoras. I don't have one on today. I probably should have put one on, but it's okay. And so I want to plug a Black owned hat company that we have here called Hatrimony Hat Company. The owner and designer, Jordan, is a super, super amazing dude. He's a great husband. He's a soon to be father. And I love the great work that he is doing and that he has always done. And so, yeah, those are my shameless plugs. Therapy is Bay, Hatrimony Hat Company, and holla at me, brown skin locks. Oh, and if you smoke cigars, Definition Cigars. They're the dopest boutique Black owned cigar brand out here.
Dig that. All right, Miss Jaleesa.
My shout out is to my realtor, Sean Rush, with the Rush Realty Group at trustrush.com. So if you're in the North Carolina area and you are looking to get into real estate or purchasing your real estate, he is the person for you. Helped me with an out of state move, which was kind of hard to do, but made it seamless, easy process. So yes, that's definitely shout out to Sean.
Phoenix.
Amen, amen. My shout out is actually to someone that we've seen in our comments here, Prisciliana Garcia. She's actually going to be one of our panelists coming up, and she's a Mary Kay rep. So shout out to her because I see her hustling,
I love some Mary
getting the
Kay.
grind on. So
I used to sell Mary Kay, but I need a new rep.
The products that work, all this other stuff in the store right now. I don't know about that, but that's the stuff that work, girl.
yeah. So you can actually you can see how her name is spelled in the comments. Put an ad in front of it. You're gonna find her.
So that means Miss Hayes did pronounce her name correctly because she said
Prisciliana. Yeah. I did. That's
I
why
can't
they
read. I was
correct her.
struggling early. I'm like, no, I can't read. Like, I don't want y'all to think that I can. I was just stumbling over my words a little bit.
No, you got it. Absolutely.
my shameless plug. I've already done it. Breakout Media Group. That is the name of my company. Breakout Media Group. On YouTube, Scrap the Film Guru on all social media platforms. I think I got a couple that's still under D Blue KC. My IG might still be D Blue KC, even though I tried to change it to Scrap the Film Guru. And I'm called that for a reason. Like I started dabbling into films. I have my own videography, cinematography company, and I also am a podcast host. So let's get it. So like, share, and subscribe to all of these social media platforms. Let's go ahead and build it up. I would like to thank all of my guests for tonight. This was dope. I'm trying to tell you, I believe that minds were enlightened and lives were changed. If only for a moment. If only for the last 2 hours. They might sign off and go right back to the toxic ass crap they was doing before the show. But
look, because I said it's a song for everything. What Luther said, right? If only for one night, huh?
That part.
But tune in next week to Unscripted and Unfiltered on Notoriously Opinionated. Same notorious time, same notorious station. And until that time, peace. We
Peace
are
and
out.
love.
Hey, yes, hang
Love
out.
you guys.
Hang out.